Hi, thanks for coming this evening. We're going to make a few announcements, but first I would like to vote on last minute's meetings on the 19th. Everybody had a chance to read them? Major corrections?
Did you make an announcement, Carol, that the meeting's being recorded?
Yeah, I was when we started. I was going to take care of business
It's
first.
a prerequisite to the meeting. Prior to when a meeting's being recorded, we need to announce it.
Oh, see, I've never done this before. And do you have to speak into that, or is he picking us all up? I got you, okay. We're being recorded, thanks to HCAM, and so watch what you say. Watch the language, folks. Is that it? So I just have to let everybody know?
I didn't have any yet.
No, what's that?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of October 19th.
And I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you all. Just a couple of quick announcements. First of all, we've heard from the Community Preservation Coalition in Boston that the figures for this year should be coming out on November 15th, and we will certainly let everyone know, our committee, what our amount will be this year. As you probably read, and you all get the minutes, it was a zero budget year, so we're not expecting any big increases over what has already been estimated for the year. I also want to talk about our procedures for this evening just for a minute. We have applicants who are going to explain their proposals to us. We've all had the proposals and have read them carefully and made lists of questions. And tonight's their first time in front of us to really explain the details of what they'd like to do, goals and objectives, and how we can help. And we will not be discussing our budget tonight. It gets us off track and it distracts us. So we're going to stick to listening to the projects, asking good, sharp details. We'd like to keep to under 15 minutes for each presentation. And we will start with the Andrea show. You're on.
Thank you very much. Vicki, are you keeping time?
Yep, got right in front of me.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
The gong will go off.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Andrea Young, and I'm the administrator for the Historical and Historic District Commissions. And I'm here tonight to present two projects. One is what you see up here, conservation of historic town documents. And so I will hopefully just brief right through that. And if you have any questions, I also have a show and tell. So I think you'll enjoy that. I hope so. Okay.
Andrea?
Yes.
Just in case, would you mind
Oh,
using
you
the
want me to
microphone?
talk in here?
Into the mic.
I can.
And you can take that off and walk around if you
That's all right. I don't want to.
if you feel the need to dance or anything.
Okay. Does this work out for everybody? Okay.
Yep.
Documents are historic resources. Nothing new. In 2006, the CPA statute was amended to include documents and artifacts as historic resources. Projects have included, and this is statewide, restoration of documents, including maps, and thanks to last year's appropriation, we were able to conserve several maps in Town Hall, which is wonderful. Conservation, archival storage, which is absolutely critical because it stops something that is on the road to deterioration from deteriorating further. Let's see, and improvements to storage systems, climate control areas, fire suppression systems to make sure documents remain safely stored. The goal being that preserved documents provide the future with an understanding of the past. Thank goodness some people decided to save what they recorded from our early history in Hingham, as well as throughout the country, so that we have those and can look back and be informed about how we evolved in town. The term historic, according to the Society of American Archivists, defines that word as noteworthy, documents that are noteworthy among past events or old things, and the term connotes significance, whereas historical implies nothing more than age. So, the first example that I'm showing you is one of the records that we have in Town Hall. And I don't know, can we turn the lights down a little bit? Because I know. Yeah. Thank you. Is that all right? Okay. So this is obviously the front cover of one of our documents. It has been archived so that it is in a proper storage box and wrapped in archival tissue. This is the inside of that same document, and so these are the deaths, volume 3, from 1635 to 1850. And as you can see, the penmanship is exquisite. But as you can see, it is falling apart. And that is the problem with most of them. The bindings have failed. Here's another example of a book that unfortunately has all our births, deaths, and marriages from 1645 to 1787. And as you can see, these are a couple of the ones that we have listed that are to be conserved. And this is further inside that same book. To determine historic significance of documents, there are several ways to do that. And most use the National Register criteria, which is, it is also involved in the Secretary of the Interior standards for historic properties. Is the document associated with a significant event or a person? Does it have distinctive characteristics or yield important information? The first one is obvious. If you have a letter from Abraham Lincoln or another president of the United States, it is significant. If you have documents that talk about letters from the Civil War, that would also qualify. Does it have distinctive characteristics or yield important information? Sometimes documents that are particularly, I think, government documents fall into this category. Or like our own town deed has the seals from the Indians, the seals, stamps. So, and the last way to do this too, which is important for CPA funding, is to obtain local historical commission determination of significance. So significance can be worldwide, national, or local. These are the projects, or these are the documents that are going to be conserved if this is approved. The town records, death register of people born in Hingham who died elsewhere, 3 volumes each of Hingham records of births, deaths, marriages. The Selectmen's records, volume number 1, that's in the worst shape. And all of these have met the aforementioned criteria for historic significance. And the Historical Commission did vote last Monday night to agree that these are, in fact, historic records. The present condition of all of them, they're really unusable at this point. Anything from water damage, mold, pages bleeding through, and just general degradation of the materials, particularly the bindings, we find. All volumes have been wrapped in archival tissue and are now being stored in boxes to prevent further deterioration. The goal of this whole project is accessibility. When I show you what I brought tonight, you'll understand that you just can't use it. It is not available for research. Even it's tough for the town clerk to be able to use these things because they are so very fragile. So the The timeline for this, for our documents conservator, is July. He'll start in July, assuming this is approved, and take almost a year to go through everything very carefully. He will do a condition assessment for each of the 12 volumes, before and after photographs, and a completion report for each volume as it is finished. He will also provide monthly updates. And the documents, as he finishes them, will be returned to storage. Let me just show you, if you don't mind. Can you get this? Can people see this at home? All right, now this thing was invented by an archivist. It's essentially a pillow, but what it does is when you place a book on it, it keeps it from opening flat, because that helps to save the bindings. I don't know where best to put this, but
Which one is this one?
this one is the births, deaths, and do I have it upside down? I think I do. And white gloves, actually, the wisdom on that now
No.
is no, because the gloves have a tendency to get caught. You can't really tell. You can't feel the paper, so it rips it more easily. But I'll just drag this around. This starts with 1645. So, and again, I think the penmanship is just really incredible. Unfortunately,
Magnificent.
we do have quite a few of these, so.
Do you care if we ask you questions while you're
Oh, please
wandering
do.
around? So the money doesn't seem like very much for this year. Is it handling a limited number of volumes? What do you?
Yes, it
Okay.
is handling only 12.
Okay.
It's incredible. And there are many more.
And you don't need to put that work out to bid. You have got the archivist that does this for you all the time.
Yeah, the document conservator.
Good.
And he is the gentleman, he's done work for the GAR Hall.
Mhm.
And he has also done work for us over the years as well. So he's very well qualified. Just so you know, the first Daniel Cushing was married to Liba Gilman, the daughter of Edmund Gilman. That was the first marriage. So, and then beyond that, it goes to record births and everything else. But years and years are included in this volume, and it's invaluable as far as research. So, any questions?
Is there a way to photograph those pages and get them into a computer?
Well, they were placed on microfilm probably in the 70s. Oh, sorry. They were placed on microfilm in the 70s, and the microfilm is not really a good quality, so it couldn't be used to digitize anything. These would have to be photographed individually.
Maybe after they're repaired.
Possibly.
Question, once they are preserved, I mean, you talk about research, where would somebody be able to find them?
In the town clerk's office.
Okay. And does the town clerk office have the room for storage of these kinds of?
They can make it accessible, and I would have to say that the research would be limited to people who have a serious need. We can't, as you can see, they're very fragile.
And one of the reasons I asked is just, I'm not sure what the difference is between things that the Heritage Museum might have available for people to come and visit.
Good
So I just
question.
didn't know, some of these things seem to be the kinds of things I think the Heritage Museum is having, so I was just questioning that.
No, actually, that's been one of the jobs that the archivist has performed for the town, which is to put town records into the town offices. And other types of materials would be, whether they were school department related or for the Historical Society, they have been moved around. There are a lot of things in the vault at the library.
Thank you.
Anyone else have questions?
Andrew, do you know how much it would cost to digitalize them to?
Well, I don't, no. I think because these are so fragile, it really would take someone to be very careful, obviously, with it, and I don't know who that would be right now. I do know that sturdier volumes we can have digitized through the Boston Public Library at no cost. But I don't think we could get this to a point where they'd be able to take this. And the nice thing about that, if these, whatever is digitized at the Boston Public Library is public for everyone. So that's really nice. And that's one of the goals, I think, that we have for all of our programs, archival programs, to make them available for people to see and read and research and find out about their families.
Okay. Anybody?
Great.
Thank you. Right on the minute.
Okay.
Now,
All right.
next we move on to
Lights on.
repair and restoration of the tower clocks. There are 4 in the town, and we'll start with New North Church,
Yes.
on this New North Meeting House.
Thank you. Oh, I gotta get my other presentation here.
Why are we doing this? The town meeting of 1889 and all
We
that.
got a legal opinion on
It's
that.
in it?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, she's got it. Hang on just a minute. She's got it. No, it's not in
She's
there.
15 now. No, I must be getting old. The sim to me is always that big.
It's changed, just, I don't.
So, hang on. No, sure. Thank you. Perfect, thank you very much. All right, I dropped my glasses somewhere.
Here they are, Andy.
Oh, right on the table. Thanks. 'Cause I can't see. I don't know what I'm saying. All right, these are 4 projects, 4 separate projects. So, and tonight with me is Kevin Rowe, who is the person who's been caring for our clocks. And so he's here if there are any questions, which I can't answer, which would be likely. Okay.
Microphone, Andrea?
I should be.
Don't want them to miss your words.
I had it around my neck. All right, so the Historical Commission submitted separate CPC applications and project proposals to restore 4 tower clocks in the town. Each clock restoration project will be reviewed on its own merits. CPC will determine which clock restoration project or projects to recommend for the Board of Selectmen and the Advisory Committee to review. Each clock restoration project to be considered by town meeting 2017 will be represented in its own warrant article. So, is that, okay, good. In 1889, town meeting approved Article 46, which said, it asked, will the town adopt any measure to take charge of running and keeping in repair the clocks on churches at South Hingham, Hingham Center, and on the New North Church, and other public clocks in town? And town meeting approved that, and the clocks that are included in, the 4 clocks that were named are at the New North Meeting House, the William Fearing II General Store, AKA Dependable Cleaners, It's right in the center. The William Fearing II, sorry. The Congregational Church clock and the Second Parish Church. So, all right. Moving right along. So, the New North Church clock is, well, first of all, the church was raised, meaning it was built in 1806 after there was some dissension between among members of the Old Ship Church meeting house. And so, led by Major General Benjamin Lincoln, they decided to form their own church, and within 6 months of splitting off, they built this lovely building. It's federal in style, just as an FYI. Let's see, there were also some other famous people who attended church there, Governor Andrew and Governor Long. You can still see when you go in there that pew number 7 belonged to General Lincoln, Major General Lincoln. Pew 16 was Governor Andrews, and pew number 1 was Governor Long's. The clock was installed around 1850. It is a Howard clock, has 4 faces, and so the project scope really is pretty much the same for all the clocks. They need to be inspected first, cleaned, and parts will be refurbished or replaced depending what is needed. Kevin Rowe is our first line of oversight, and the Historical Commission will watch the project as well. So apparently, from the estimates we received, it'll take about 8 to 12 weeks to do this. And the amount requested is $15,500. And that, we have several estimates. I picked the high one, the highest, because, you know, this clock hasn't worked in a while. So it's, you'd hate to get it halfway done and it not be working. Plus, I think that it's such an important clock in town because it is really, really near and dear to this part of Hingham Center, or the village. People can see it from all over the place on many approaches, and it really adds an important ambiance to the square. When it's not working, you notice it. When it is working, you notice it as well because it is charming and it is lovely to hear the bells ringing on the hour. Okay. Do you have anything to add, Kevin?
You know, the bell hasn't worked. I've been winding that clock. I just wind, by the way, I just wind both 2 clocks. I wind the cleaner's clock and I wind this clock.
Sorry.
So I wind just 2 of the clocks, the cleaner's clock and the New North clock, and the other 2 I'm really not that familiar with, but the bell has never worked. The strike up that hits the bell is just completely collapsed. You know, there's just no way. I mean, I tried fixing a couple things up there. I fought with it, but you know, it's unfortunate. I wish I had some pictures of the deterioration that's happened just over the years because of the lack of serious maintenance. You know, I go up once a week, oil it, wind it, do what I can to tighten the screws, whatever. But it really is time for, you know, kind of an overhaul for this clock. The dependable cleaner's clock runs like clockwork, I'll tell you that much. Runs like a good running clock. But the bell has stopped working, and I have no idea why. So these guys are professionals. 2 of the estimates are from local guys, and then we have a third from somebody up in Maine. It's very difficult to find a, you know, tower clock repair person who wants to climb up on a tower in July and hang out inside an attic up there. So That's it.
Thank you, Kevin. Shall I move on? Yeah. This is the William Fearing II General Store at 298 Main Street. And as you can see, it has one face, this clock. The store was built in 1858. The original clock was installed around that time, and I haven't been able to confirm this, but I've seen something written that the original clock in there came from a schoolhouse located on School Street, but I haven't been able to find anything further. But this clock was installed in 1913. It is also a Howard clock. This one has to be removed from the building, not the face, but all the works, and has to be worked on elsewhere and will be reinstalled. The amount requested, timeline is 6 to 8 weeks, and the amount requested is $9,000. Could be less, because as Kevin pointed out, the clock does work. And what's funny is I don't know if you can see, but it says 5 o'clock. And this was after daylight savings time started. So it reminded me of a little anecdote that I read somewhere about, I think it was Noel Ripley Sr., who was winding and working on the clocks at the time. And there was a little article in the journal that said that, he, in fact, had the clock set back even before the time changed. So, and I thought, well, we need to set this one back. Okay, so any questions on this one? Shall I move on?
Andrew, just a question. You said that it's working now, so why
The clock is working, but the bell is not. It does not strike the hour.
Okay.
Nevertheless, Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong, it has to be cleaned.
Yeah, this one, if you read the report a little bit closely, I mean, if they could go up and just fix the bell, that would be a lot less cost, and that's fine. I mean, that's maintaining it, I suppose. But after professional review, if you read that a little closer, it's, I don't know, maybe it's not in there, but it's kind of a mess. It's completely filthy and dirty, and the parts are worn, so it's in need of bringing back for years of uninterrupted use or working product, basically. So that's how it's explained to me.
And both of these are Howard clocks.
Yes. The Congregational church clock also has 4 faces. The church was established in 1848. The clock was installed around 1887. And unlike the other entities, they actually have documentation for when this clock was placed. And I want to say consecrated, but that's not the right word. Dedicated, perhaps. But that documentation is inaccessible because, of course, they're in the midst of renovations right now. So parts will have to be removed and replaced. And this is a 6 to 8 week job. $13,800 is the amount requested. The clock did work for a while, and probably, I think in 2005, when the Steeple was hit by lightning, remember? And it burned. Well, it was saved by our fire department, but that kind of did the clock in. So, all right, that's that one.
Andrea, I do have a question.
Yes.
So are you saying, I could have sworn this clock, I live near this clock. I hear it plays music. That's not the clock, it's just it's not the bells?
It could be the carillon.
Okay, so maybe the clock, so I just want to be clear, maybe it doesn't tell the right time, but it still does something, because I can hear it from my house.
No, it does not, yeah.
2 minutes off, but it does something.
Yeah. But
I just want
it
a
is
clarification of what it means, doesn't work. Doesn't keep time, or it doesn't...
It doesn't keep time. Another problem with most of these clocks is that the faces are not synchronized.
On the different
So that you
sides.
don't have
Okay.
1 o'clock on all 4 faces. But yeah, that's a good question, Vicki, and I think you'll see in the report from the clock professional that they explain really
Detail.
what's
Okay.
going on with this.
Thank you.
Andrew,
Lucy?
to follow up on that, it seems like the four proposals, only 3 of them have strikers, or strikers as you call them. And this one doesn't have a striker in it, does it?
This one apparently does. It's,
Then it's the one at the second parish that doesn't have the striker?
yes,
Okay, so 3 of them are going to red.
yes, and 1 is not. That's correct. Thank you.
I know the Congregational Church is undergoing a major renovation, I think to the tune of $2 million. Were they planning on I mean, maybe the cat's out of bag at this point, but were they planning on fixing it themselves anyways, or?
That's also a good question. I don't have the answer to that. I didn't ask them that, but they, I would say no, based on their presentation of the project. I can find that out.
Because, I mean, when we did give them some money about 2 years ago, but that was just for the ramp, that was $20,000, but I know they're undergoing a huge renovation there. So, I mean, I guess if we were paying for it, they wouldn't want to, but I wonder if that was part of were they planning to do it anyways? I guess it would be good to find out.
Well, when I approached them, they were very excited about the opportunity. So it led me to believe that that was not part of what they're working on. They're putting on an addition, and they're making some changes to the left yard and landscaping and so forth. Anyway, I will check for you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. All right, this is the last one, Second Parish Church. It's actually the oldest building of all, and it was established in 1742 when the people on Glad Tidings Plain, on the Great Plain, decided that it was really too far to travel every Sunday to Old Ship. So they wanted their own place to worship. This clock, there was a new bell and clock installed in 1881. I don't know what was there before, and nor do they. The clock was electrified in the early 1990s, and of the 4 faces, the rear face is no longer functional. There are no hands. So basically, this would be rebuilding or replacing 3 clock movements and the master clock, which is, I think, in a utility closet somewhere below the sanctuary. So apparently, because they can get parts, I don't know what the lead time is to get the parts, but 6 to 8 weeks to repair this.
It moved, huh?
What? I'm sorry?
You might have clicked back one.
Oh, I did?
Yeah.
Oh, I did. So it's 2 to 3 weeks and $7,500 to work on this one.
Andrew, a question on this one, because it's repairing something that's from 1990, is that problematic? Because it's not, I don't think that would be, if it's 1990, that wouldn't really be considered historic.
No, actually, the clock itself, everything is from 1881. What they did was to electrify it. So some of the internal mechanisms were changed. I had the same question you did. So I talked to, from Preservation Mass, I was referred by Kathleen Roth from the coalition. She said, call this gentleman from Preservation Mass who's a circuit rider, and you can ask him questions. And so I asked him specifically, would you think that because the original mechanism is no longer there, would that disqualify the clock? And he's also a CPA expert. So he said no, he doesn't think so at all. He said because he asked me if the face and the hands were the same. And he said he didn't think so because the clock, whether electrified or not, is part of the historic fabric of that part of town, Glad Tidings Plain. That was his opinion.
Okay. And just a follow-up question, in looking at the documents, I think they're pretty consistent. the gentleman that gave the estimate said that he was only guaranteeing the price for 90 days, and obviously these won't be done in 90 days because of
Right.
the town meeting. And he also references the fact that the cost will go, there needs to be bucket trucks or steeple jacks or somebody, and that was not included in the cost.
Correct, and they've all said that. I had a conversation with Roger, if you wouldn't mind relating that.
So there's a potential that the Tree and Parks Department, that they do have bucket trucks. You have to talk to them just to confirm this, but they could provide the town truck with the bucket in it as long, for a certain amount of time. They couldn't tie the machine up for 6 weeks, obviously, but,
Yeah.
so if that potential exists, then there might be an opportunity to do that.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Major.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Andrea.
Okay, I think that's it. So, Jim, did you want to mention, okay. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next we have Tom Wilson talking about the repair of the steeple at Old Ship Church.
Pass out revised applications because the numbers have changed. Everything else is the same in the whole report.
Yeah. Everybody have revised numbers?
You have them, somebody, they can.
I forwarded them, no. Do you want a copy? I forwarded them all to everybody.
If you have a
Yeah, we
copy,
have
I'll
them.
take a copy. I didn't make a copy.
Tom, I'll pass
Do you want the
them.
lights on, Tom, or you?
No,
Are we using the
no.
projector?
No.
Let's turn the lights on so we can see your beautiful face.
Want to pass these down? Thank you.
Pass these down.
Oh, that's better. I've got one.
If anybody wants any.
Oh, great, thank you.
Here's some more of them. Thank you.
How many trees will cut down in a year? Tom, we enjoyed our tour of your Old Ship Church, especially the basement. That was very exciting.
The follow-up on those shit. So, well, again, I'm Tom Wilson. I think we met a couple weeks ago at Old Ship. And tonight I have with me Andrea Gilmore, who's the former manager of Building Conservation Associates in Dedham. She has been working with Old Ship for longer than I have. I think it's probably 20 years or more, overseeing any of our projects to the building. And Nina Welford-Price, back there, who's the president of First Parish, and she'll be here to answer any questions from a financial standpoint as we get into the kind of the sharing of the cost of this. If you have any questions about our capacity to pay our share or whatever, Nina can answer those questions. So I gave you an overview of the project kind of quickly, and I didn't go into an awful lot of detail. And we could either answer questions you may have from that conversation, or Andrea could give you an overview herself for 5 or so minutes, and then anything that's really technical, I'll ask her to respond. So it's really up to you how you want to approach this.
Yeah, I would too. I think we'd like to hear
it would
from
be
Andrea.
very interesting to hear from you. By the way, Andrea worked for Spinea in historic New England for years before she became the managing partner of BCA, and she's a treasure for us, I'll tell you.
Thank you, Tom. It's always fun to present on behalf of Old Ship Meeting House, because it is indeed one of my favorite buildings and certainly one of the most prominent and important buildings in the state of Massachusetts, and in fact in the United States. So I don't think we have to do anything to establish its significance. And of course, this project is focused at its highest part, the top of the steeple. And so it comes with a variety of different challenges. Of course, the weather vane itself is a very important object, and it was precariously angled in March and in need of an emergency removal and rescue, I guess is the best way to call it, and Tom engineered that with Crocker Architectural. And so our project now is to rebuild the deteriorated portions of the top of the steeple, because where the weather vane is in trouble is where it comes down into the steeple and is anchored into the shaft that extends down through the center of the steeple. Unfortunately, it's a difficult place to get to, so part of the cost and part of the difficulty in exploration is access. For purposes of doing our investigation, we have had a lift that we have been able to do some preliminary investigation of. Unfortunately, we can't do the full investigation because it means stripping the steeple down to the point where we establish where the anchorage is going to be reestablished. And so this is going to be a little bit of a design-build project. It would be nice if we could figure everything out in advance. This project does not lend itself to that kind of investigation and work. So the idea will be to take the shingles and the sheeting boards off the steeple to the length that we will need to in order to install steel angles that will then create the anchorage for the metal shaft that will need to rise from the steeple and then have the weather vane placed upon. It's a project that requires structural engineering. It requires very skilled carpentry because this is original parts of the meeting house. So we have to go back in with materials, methods of construction, as well as some modern materials because, of course, we now have to make it compliant so that it can endure the wind loads that we can all attest to can be blowing quite heavily up there when we're on lifts and looking at this project. So that is essentially the way we envision the project going forward. We would build a scaffolding from the ground up, spanning the roof to the base of the steeple. Then we would go up, strip it, measure, design. This would be a combined effort of the carpentry crew and the structural engineer. The steel would be fabricated at the same time so that we would be only temporarily putting a watertight enclosure around the building at night. And then we would go back in and reinstall the weather vane. One of the things we will be doing while we're up there is you may notice as the steeple comes down, it has a very nice curved base. This was not repaired in the more recent work that was done at Old Ship. There are old and very deteriorated shingles up there. Those need to be replaced, and they are a shingle that will have to be steamed in order to create the curved shape of the steeple. And the final touch on that, of course, will be the painting so that it will match the lower part of the steeple. So that essentially is the project. I'm happy to answer any technical questions you might have, but I think it's more or less something you can visualize.
Audience?
So you can move on to the numbers.
I did have one question, Tom. I noticed that you've done such a good job at sourcing the funding for this and thinking of lots of different places to apply. I note that the Mass Historical Commission Preservation Fund, the application isn't even due until next March. Do you know when their funding date would be, and if we move forward, obviously, we need to know you're getting enough funding to do it all. What would,
That is one of the tricky parts, because 3 of these are grants, that, and they're done over periods of time over the next year. Our vision is that we'll do this work next July and August. So it's about a 2-month job by the time you get the scaffolding up there, and then strip the building, and then do your fabrication measurements and whatnot, fabricate the steel and so on. So it's a pretty involved, time-consuming job, but we think by July we will have the decision back by Mass Historical and Greenbush. Mass Historical grants are due, Ron, in March? Due in March, and we'll and awarded in July. So we'll be right at the end. But usually we'll have a pretty good idea, and frankly, we've been pretty successful in getting Mass Historical grants for good projects over the past many years. So we're pretty confident, hopeful, that we'll get the full 50. 50 is as much as they'll give. I mean, that's the top grant. And then the Greenbush Trust is in March also, March or April? May? Okay, all right. Award in July. Award in July also. So I mean, if we get cut back at all by either one of those, and Greenbush is always problematic because they only have $100,000 to give each year, and there's always a lot of requests. But this is kind of the range where people have been successful, and I know from personal experience that this is possible, at least, and I think we'll be competitive. Hopefully, we will. And then we're asking for $42,000 from the CPC. Now that's about $4,700 less than we had put in our original application, so we tried to cut that back a little bit. And then the First Parish, and combination of First Parish and the Friends of Old Ship, we'll do fundraising. We've done some fundraising and whatnot to try to match the Greenbush Trust at $21,000. So it's the new total. The last time we met, we didn't realize that, or didn't have an estimate for the replacement of all the shingles and that steaming process and whatnot. So that's something that's increased the cost. And frankly, when he, David Webb, our carpenter, went to the steel fabricator, that was another $5,000 to $7,000 more than we initially thought. And so the cost is, like everything, creeps up. And we have put in some contingency there because, as Andrea said, once we start dismantling the steeple, we don't know how far we're going to go down, and there's just there's some issues like that. And we know the percentage from each of the grants here, and if we save the $17,000 on the contingency, we'll spread that out equally, same percentage over the 4 participants. So we won't just take it for First Parish. Each of the participants will save, except, well, I shouldn't. SEP will still take the $50,000 of Mass Historical Commission, so we'll save the local ones a little money, I think. So that's kind of how we're envisioning it all falling together. Hopefully it will. So does that make sense? So
any questions?
Yeah. Any questions for Nina Price about the finances or whatever that we submitted for Old Ship and whatnot? So.
Because it's on television at some point, you might want to describe actually what, I mean, we're using the word steeple, but you're talking about that part of the church that sort of looks like a finial. You might want to, can you describe sort of in layman's terms what we're talking about, Tom?
Hold to the weather vane.
Well, so Andrea, do you?
It's the portion of the upper part of the church that extends beyond the bell tower.
Okay.
Oh, do you need me to say that?
Yeah.
Well, just so the folks at home know, sometimes we...
Okay, well, the way Old Ship's roof and steeple are constructed is, of course, the very steeply pitched roof comes up to a flat area. At the flat area is the bell chamber, and the bell chamber is roughly a square structure with the columns that come down at its corners. Extending above that is what we call the steeple, and the lower portion of that steeple is the bell-shaped portion, and then it goes up to a probably more technically correctly called the spire. And the spire is the thinner portion that tapers up to the anchorage for the weather vane. So.
Just as a matter of interest, that weather vane, you all saw it, but for others, we don't have exact documentation, but in all likelihood, it was made in the 1730s by a fellow by the name of Shep Downs, and he made the grasshopper on top of Faneuil Hall, and the weather vane on top of the State Building and several others. And so he's kind of the premier guy. It's kind of a priceless piece of art, actually. So, and part of the project in the 7 or 8 years ago, we had the weather vane taken down and all regilded. So that's in good shape. Unfortunately, we didn't realize that underneath the top of the spire, the water was getting in there and rotting that wood, which you saw the pictures of all the detail of that rot. So it's.
Why don't you tell the audience how you knew there was a problem?
Well, several of us came out of our parish house because there was an accident. A car ran into our wall, and it was a real serious accident. And as we were looking at that, I think it was Nina and a couple others looked up, and we saw the weather vane like this instead of like this. So we knew something was up right away, and it really would have caused an awful lot of damage, let alone the weight of that. I think some of you tried to lift the weather vane. It's very heavy, and that mast and the iron rod that it sits on, it's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 175 pounds or so. So thank goodness we were able to get somebody out right away, and they were able to have a crane up there, and they were able to take it off the building before anything happened. So it was pretty fortunate. So it was good.
Thank you. Nice presentation. Thank you all.
Okay.
And Alan Peralt is here to tell us all about the Harbor Walk.
It is, it's right there on the, yeah.
Yeah, I'm Alan Peralt. I'm the chairperson of the Bathing Beach Trustees. With me is Vice Chair Ed Johnson and Chris Daly. Chris is the technologically competent one in our group, so he's the one that did the PowerPoint.
You need one. It's because he's younger.
I kind of talk him through it. He actually does the physical work, so but we're kind of a team. So we're here before you tonight for an extension of the paver boardwalk that was started last year at the bathing beach. And as most of you know, the trustees of the bathing beach, which was formed by a trust in the 20s and the 1920s, there was a donation made, and there was a trust formed, and there are 3 trustees who oversee the jurisdiction of that parcel. And the parcel basically goes from the area we refer to as the Grove, that if you're coming out of Crow Point is the area that becomes, you know, treed area and grassed area, starts as a triangle and works all the way to the grass parcel that the gazebo is sited on. So basically the jurisdiction of the trustees of the bathing beach is from that corner of the Grove to where it touches the gazebo parcel, grass parcel that is under control of the Board of Selectmen. So we've been very successful. The CPC has been instrumental in the work we've done in the past, 10 plus years. We actually, so we're back again. This is probably the last big project we envision right now within that jurisdiction of the Grove to the gazebo parcel. But Chris's point is the first one is the walkway will be another link in the planned harbor walkway. The harbor walkway, as many of you know, was conceived of in the 1987 Harbor Master Plan that was done by Mark Mazzarelli that envisioned a walkway all the way from the beginning of the Grove down to either Barnes 2 or Steamboat Wharf is the concept. And the first part of it that was actually built was the one we did last year. But as far as its benefits, which Chris has here, is that it's going to be a safer link between Crow Point neighborhood and the Inner Harbor. And you get a little sidewalk, but then at least you get to this area, and then you're going to be on a hard surface for baby carriages, wheelchairs, bicycles, and the like. It obviously promotes use and access to the harbor front, which I think has improved in the last year overall, thanks largely to CPC. And the walkway is going to be built behind the revetment that actually CPC funded a couple of years ago. And that actually gets us above the flood elevation. So this walkway would be behind a thing, so it's protected from the flood. The good news is now that the Bathing Beach Trustees parcel is the best protected area from floods now, because the work we did this past year buried a seawall and all the new walkways behind that, and the revetment is. So all things considered, this is one of the more protected areas if we had a nor'easter, which is the area that we're most prone to. So the concept is to install semi-permeable pavers. It's not so much the pavers are permeable as they're kind of in a sand type of product, so it really does allow for they're semi-porous in the sense that which is compatible with the Concom, the Historic District Commission, as well as the walkway we did before. So we know that the materials we're talking about have been approved by Historic and Concom previously. And they're consistent with the pavers that are used in downtown Hingham, by the way. It's going to enable handicap access to the Grove, which quite honestly is most popular with seniors because it's a shady area on hot days. It oftentimes gets used. So the fact that you've got an area off the walkway that you could get there and, more easily is an added plus. We are totally going to work this. It doesn't have to be a straight line like the one we built this past year that goes along the parking lot. So it's going to weave amongst the trees that are there. We're not going to disturb a single tree. The depth of this walkway is not such that it would, disturb roots, and we'll stay sufficiently out of their way. And as I said earlier, it's going to continue the initiatives that were envisioned in the 2007 master plan. The budget for this is $144,000, which I know is a steep number. In light of what you people have. But as a committee, just so you know, our annual budget is $39,000. That includes lifeguards and goose protection. We're not like a big budget department, to say the least. And the number came from an extrapolation of the estimated construction cost that we actually got on the project that Roger bid last year when we did the walkway. We had an alternate for the walkway, so we could break out what that cost was. And the median cost was that basically it's $30 per square foot. So the easy math is the length of this, which is about 600 feet. The width is 8 feet, which is exactly what the walkway is that we have now, so it's a continuation of that walkway. And if you do the math, it comes out to $144,000 to build a similar walkway to what we already have. The plus is that we wouldn't know this after the fact, but this project would be eligible for reimbursement from DCR. They have a grant program for walkways and paths. I think it's not dissimilar to Crest Field, where if we were to get a grant, it would be eligible for up to $50,000 of reimbursement. And given this is a well-planned thing, I think it's the type of thing that DCR would like, because it's obviously something that other state agencies have, between the bathhouse and everything else, have adopted as being a good program. This is an image of the walkway that was done last year. We actually you probably can't see the grass very well, but the grass was just planted about 2 weeks ago. It's inside the hurricane fencing. And the walkway's been very successful. It's kind of interesting to see it. Arguably, it doesn't get you anywhere. It's 300 feet, but it just gets you to the Grove. But we see people who just walk it for the sake of walking it, because it ends at grass at the gazebo parcel, it ends in the Grove, but people will just walk the 300 feet. So we certainly know that people are going to continue walking this additional area, especially where it leads to Crow Point. A lot of families, and once you get to the Grove, it's going to be a much safer area for people to walk. Another shot of it, and you're kind of seeing, buried in the sand, by the way, is where the segmental wall is, which is going to protect this all area behind it. We don't have the same problem in the Grove because we already have the revetment. Just another shot of it. Actually, courtesy of DPW, they gave us the nicer trash barrels this year, so it's a little better looking than the ones we historically had. This is from the proposal that was done through Roger's office and by DCI, it was Polaris at the time, actually, but that showed how this was constructed, and it kind of gives you a little bit of a profile of how the walkway goes, and it would be a similar concept as what we'd be doing. This is just circling how there was a walkway proposed in 2007 and kind of points to where that is. It's, again, going to weave its way through the trees. This was the plan that was done. This is a blow-up of the Hingham master plan, showing it also going across the gazebo, so you get it in a bigger context of showing how the walkway, walks. We obviously didn't 100% construct it this way. We revised the parking lot, but again, you're looking at a 2007 rendering. This is also the rendering of how the boardwalk would work in the 2007 plan. It's obviously a little different, but the concept's the same. We've actually got more beach than this envisioned because we cut the parking lot back. And it's actually helped us preserve the beach. We've got almost an additional 45 to 50 feet of beach, which makes the beach a lot less steep, and we're less prone to scarping and being affected by storms. So actually the walkway is quite honestly further back than this.
Alan, that shows the bathhouse up by the water. Is that just an old picture?
It's the old bathhouse as if you did a snack shop in it, Carol.
Okay, just pick it up.
Exactly. This was, again, a concept that was from Mazzarelli's in 2007. This was, we applied for we got funding last year from CPC, as you're aware, $150,000 of matching funds towards the $700,000 we got from the state for the new bathhouse concession building. And we've hired Strekalowski's architects to do the architectural work through an RFP process we went through. And these are the kind of two elevations of the building. It's been pretty well received. We've had site meetings out there. We've had, 1 or 2 public meetings specifically jointly with the Harbor Development Committee to talk about it. And we've also talked with the rec department. One of the things we envision in this building, beyond just, bathrooms and the concession, is about a 500 square foot meeting room, which rec has interest in doing yoga programs. It would be a room where we could have meetings. It would be available for lease. We see it as something as a net neutral in the sense that we probably could lease that out for showers and anniversary parties and things like that, given the location. There's going to be, it's designed, especially the meeting room has got the best vistas of the whole building looking towards the waterfront.
And should we mention about the walkway that's going around?
And yeah, and it shows the walkway that kind of comes around is going to tie in. So eventually, the walkway would go from our existing walkway to that. And it's all going to be linked in, so that's going to be a public asset. And at some point, if rec is able to do like a play area or something like that, it's in very close proximity to this. So we see that, especially if you look at a week like this, it would actually be a win-win if you had the rec had programs there or a play area, and you had 60-degree day. We think this thing is going to get a lot of use. And this is a plan done by CHA, who's the site engineering consultant working on that project. And you can see that they envision kind of a walkway linking to the existing walkway at the top, just skirting the gazebo parcel, but a way that you stay off the parking lot and you keep, families, in a safe walking area. That's essentially it.
Thank you. Any questions?
I have a question. Thanks for that, Alan.
Yeah.
So my reading of the DCR reimbursement grant was up to $80,000. But you said 50.
Well, I think the average, we've told the average grant is actually 50. So when we looked it up in the Concom office, I think we could apply for 80, but they usually don't, we're told, issue larger than 50. So we're just trying to be realistic that that's probably more real. We'll ask for the max, but the 50 might be a more realistic number.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Alan, I just wonder why, instead of applying for funding this year to take us past the bathing beach and up into the Grove, which is great, but aren't you going to need a lot of pathway around where the bathhouse is, and that should be done by like next summer? Would that be a priority before the other one?
No, in the sense that our thought is, let's get done what we can do. It's not going to be disturbed at all. See, that we may not be constructing the bathhouse. It's kind of a peeve of Rogers and mine. It's a little bit delayed.
Oh, okay.
But we may not be constructing that till this time next year, or in the fall, let's say, if all things go well. Mm-hmm. So we're thinking, and I know that Vicki and the rec department has an interest in an area. We look at that as like the future area that's going to get done, but can we at least get the Grove done to our walkway, so we at least say we've got a major link we've done, and our part is pretty much done, and now it can be taken from that point on. A good question of like how that gets done.
The Grove is really shovel-ready, is what you're saying?
The Grove could go
Just
right away.
go.
There's nothing that would disturb that. We can work within the existing trees. It's an easy thing, and we've done 90% of our property when we do that. You know?
No questions?
Okay.
Straightforward.
Thank you very much.
Advisory?
Yep.
Thank you, Alan. Okay, in general committee, any questions on where we are today?
I
Okay.
had one question on the steeples. They said each one would be a separate article.
Yes, each of the clocks.
Why is, I mean, the last few years,
It has to do, you want to explain, Roger? It has to do with Andrea, and Kevin is actually the proposer, is that right?
Yeah.
And because he's an individual, if he does one at a time, he doesn't have to go through a lot of the state requirements, if we did them all together from the town? Did that right?
Well, Kevin acting as a proxy for the building owners is able to, and plus he knows clocks, and we don't know anything about clocks, at least I don't. I won't speak for you guys, but, so it would have been much more difficult for us to then come up with, if the town took that on, meaning my office, we're required to bid things out, do things a certain way, and it would have been problematic being able to describe in a bid document what needs to be done on each individual clock. So that's why Kevin is acting as the proxy to the building owners, if you will, working with Andrea. With respect to the submissions of the 4 separate, I think the intent there was not to have one clock risk another one that might be deemed a higher priority, or if to provide the CPC with the flexibility, it might say to Andrea or Kevin, hey, we want to do 2 and not 4 this year, we want to do 1, and not tie you in to all 4, and provide you that flexibility to make that call.
So we could break it up if we want to, depending on our funding and so forth.
I am concerned, though, that I think it might be too low. I mean, not that I'm looking to spend more money, but the fact there's only a 90-day guarantee on the price that they gave, so this won't be done for almost a year. And then that whole question mark about the bucket, if you have to hire that could like really significantly increase the cost of doing these. So I think we're seeing like probably the lowest, I mean, she said, I know Andrea said she took the highest number, but that in fact may be the lowest number. So I don't know, maybe she can get a little bit closer to that, as, or at least to say that, you gave us an estimate, but the estimate's no good by the time town meeting comes along. Because
I
it's
think
only
she
90
said she would
days.
go back and get that extended. That's
Yeah.
just fairly easy to do. Okay, and tomorrow night, here again, same time, same place? We will miss you. You're off on book tour. Okay. That means everybody has to come. Have a quorum. Lucy?
Just another question about the clocks. Do I have to stand up?
No, we know you. I'm sorry, oh, you won't be on, they won't hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll do this quick. So with the clocks. Lucy Hancock. I had a question about the clock strikers. I think it's great if they all ring. Do the neighbors know that these clocks might start ringing again? Is there any
We
concern?
talked about that early on when we first thought it was just New North Church. And what Kevin told me, who's sort of our in-house expert now, there are ways to muffle these things. So we would have many choices. We can put a regulator on them so they shut off at 10 and come on at 8, or anything you want to do, and they can be muffled. So we've lots of options, but we can wait and sort of see what the neighbors say. Vicki will probably be the first to complain, won't she?
No, I guess my question is, again, what is a fixed clock? Because a couple of the clocks that they're talking about, as far as I'm concerned, they work. I don't understand what doesn't work mean. And the fact that one isn't ringing and hasn't rung for a long time, I'm with you, Lucy. Maybe the neighbors would like to know, maybe that's okay that it isn't ringing. So what connotes a fixed or a working clock, I guess, is the question some might ask. So I'm not sure that I have an answer for those, but since we did not visit the clocks, I think it wouldn't be a bad idea if we ourselves around town take a look at which clocks are actually, I know North Church has not worked for a long time, that I'm well aware of. But it might be a good idea for those of us to kind of
We
take a
could get a
look.
ruling from the town lawyer because the bill of 1889 that they're referring to was voted on at town meeting, says that they have to be working, maintained and wound. I assume if there's a bill involved, that would include that.
Somebody's been Kevin Rowe's been maintaining them, so somebody's paying him to maintain them.
Yes, the town
So-
is.
Right, so what is he maintaining if they're not, my point is if he's maintaining them and they're not working, I mean, what does he
That's right.
do?
He gets paid per clock, so he bills them per which one is working.
Okay.
If it's not working, he doesn't get paid.
And that's a question, that's
Yeah.
not
Yeah,
a
that's
statement,
good.
I'm not trying to offend anybody.
Anything else? The chair will entertain a motion to...
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you all.
Thank you.